So, hi, I'm going to talk to you guys today about costs of the cult of expertise. And just really quickly, I'm going to give you a little bit of background about myself. So, hey, my name is Jessica Rose. I'm originally from the US, so I'm a little bit too chirpy. I'm based in the United Kingdom now in England, so I apologize a lot. And I tend to apologize for being a little bit too happy and a little bit too annoying. So I'm sorry in advance. I work for a really fun company called Dream Factory that has an open source project that does reusable REST APIs. And if anybody wants to get me, so if you say, wow, you know what, I had a question, but I didn't want to ask it out loud, or do you know what, you were really wrong about something, but I didn't want to embarrass you, you can catch me on Twitter. And my DMs are open, so if you want to be like, you were completely wrong and not make me feel bad, actually just don't send it. And before I got into technology, I was actually a teacher. I worked as a language teacher and a student of linguistics. So has anybody seen me speak before? Excellent. Oh, I saw in the back you were just like, oh. Because I was a teacher, anytime I get a large audience, it feels like the chance to inflict audience participation on you. So there's going to be some raising your hands. I'm going to ask you guys to give me your definitions of things. If you're all okay with that, could you look gently uncomfortable? Excellent. And I don't think the cameras can see you, so if you want to raise your hand or say something, no one's ever going to call you out for it. So just recently I started working for Dream Factory, and they're amazing, and I love them, and they're perfect. But before I did that, I did a lot of consulting. And one of the things I did quite a bit of consulting around was talent and technology. So people say the only hard things are naming and hiring. Also, all the technology stuff in the middle. But I'm going to tell you a little bit of a story about a time I got called in to try and help somebody find some talent. So a company called me in and they say, Jess, do you know what? We want a developer. And we want a developer with 3 years of .NET. It's like, okay, that's fine. 3 years of .NET. This was in a fairly large city in the United Kingdom. That's fine. I said, well, you know what? We'd quite like a diverse hire as well. We'd like to get a woman on board or a person of color, not really for any cultural reason, but just so we don't get in trouble down the line. And I said, that's fine. But they kept talking. And they said, well, you know what, 3 years .NET, diverse talent. I said, yeah, okay. We'd also like them to have, at least 2 years on C#. Okay, that's still fine. Yeah, I can do that. And you know what, we want them to be a really great graphic designer. Oh, okay. That's... What? And you know what? I'd like them to have really great front-end skills as well. And somewhere around this time, I'm just sort of awkwardly twisting my folder back and forth, because I never like to tell people that they're wrong, and you never like to tell people that they're dumb. But then they kept talking. And then they said, well, you know what, this is, of course, a junior developer role. And I said, oh, honey, so I started talking, and very, very gently I said, well, you guys really talked about wanting to get in a female developer. And just very fluffy, not saying you're wrong, or you're bad, or you're dumb, but I said, you know what, I've found that it's really difficult to get candidates from diverse backgrounds coming onto a job description, applying, when it's a bullet point list of very, very firm requirements. And I came back to this. I see this quite a bit and dug up that it comes from a Forbes article saying that they found that men, when they were looking for roles, would apply for a role when they met about 60% of the requirements. And they found that women wouldn't apply until they met at least 100% of the requirements. And this was a really fun quote, and there's a terrible little link at the bottom. And I wanted to dig in. I was like, well, this is cool, but these are really specific numbers. Where are these coming from? And it's actually from a Hewlett-Packard survey tracking internal applicants for promotion. And they found that their male applicants were applying when they hit, 6 out of 10 of the requirements. And they found that their female applicants weren't applying until they just absolutely killed it, until they got all of the requirements possible. So I start sort of in the office, twisting my folder back and forth. It's like, well, Forbes, Hewlett-Packard, maybe this is going to be difficult. I can't necessarily... Whoa, Jess, wait. We've already had a female applicant for this. So I don't know why you're telling me it would be difficult. And it's a medium-sized city. And I can think of one person I've ever met who's a female developer who has this insane spread of skills. It's like, okay, you guys have had an applicant for this. Who did you have in? And these people lucked out. They said, oh, do you know what? We've had first name, last name apply for this job. And I was so happy. I was like, that's the only person who could ever do this absolutely insane job. She's not really a junior developer. You'd have to pay her quite a bit more. But you guys are brilliant. Or lucky. Lucky. I was like, great, so why am I here? Well, you know what? We had her in, and her CV says she can do all of these insane things we asked for. But it's just not a good match. You know what? She didn't come across as very skilled. She didn't have the level of expertise that we wanted for our completely bananas junior developer job. And I thought, well, that's fine. That's fine. And went away thinking, but they emailed me a couple weeks later to let me know they had hired a young man who had graduated university 2 weeks later. And that was fine. And that got me really thinking about what we look at when we look at expertise. So who here has ever worked in a role where you felt undervalued, where you didn't feel that the camera cannot see you, it's fine. Who's worked in a role where you felt that your expertise was not appropriately valued? All right. I love as soon as you say the camera can't see you, people are like. One of the things I was really interested in is how we value expertise. So this company who had me in said, well, you know what? We were looking for a junior developer with more expertise. And I screamed quietly. Like, I'm going to take this from the crowd. Yell at me, and I'm going to go ahead and just echo you back so we get that. And I'm like, how do you define expertise? What lets you know that someone's an expert? You guys? Experience. So like experience on their CV or
level of responsibility.
The things they've done. Sorry?
Responsibility you can manage.
So that they've had a level of responsibility in the past.
No, he's able to get it and manage it.
Okay, that they're actually able to do the job. Cool.
He must be really crazy.
They have the
Wanting to do it and thinking about it. I've not heard this. Okay, and thinking in the process. I haven't heard that before, and I like that, and I'm going to bother you about that later. Yell at me, because the front row is killing it. Everybody else is a bit like, oh, I hate this. This is terrible. I should have gone to microservices. The last person who presented themselves as an expert, what were they getting by on? Successful references. That's not bad at all. So I find a lot of times that we accept expertise for some weird places. You can be considered an expert by publishing blog posts, by, I don't know, hypothetically giving talks. We buy a lot of things with expertise that doesn't necessarily come from skill. Put your hand up if you've ever known an expert or known of an expert who didn't necessarily deserve to be an expert. For those of you who are watching the video, when I asked the crowd about like, oh, have you ever Have you ever not been appropriately valued for your expertise? People were just like, no. When I asked this question, everybody was like grim-faced and terrible. I think that in technology, it's really tempting to assume that we mean skill when we're talking about expertise. And I think it's really difficult because we, as humans, have a really hard time valuing skills in others appropriately. And we have an incredibly difficult time valuing our own skills. Our brains are these wonderful, interesting bundles of meat that are really bad at a lot of things. And we're going to talk in a little more detail about what our brains are bad at. Self-promotion is a skill, but self-promotion is not always the skill you're looking for. Who here is in a position who hires people? Who's a manager or in hiring? Awesome. So this is not just a question. Oh, for the video, that was like 15% of people? I've got a silly question. Who here is working at a company where you're currently hiring? Who's looking for a role at your company? Whether or not you're a manager. Cool, keep them up. Who's been hiring for more than 3 weeks? Who's been hiring for more than 3 months? Who's been hiring for more than a year? If you've been hiring for more than a year for the same role, it's a great opportunity to ask whether or not you're looking for a skill set that might be gently bananas. One of the things that's really difficult about people who are presenting themselves as experts is that it's not necessarily them misrepresenting themselves out of malice. We always want people to think the best of us. We always want people to think we're very skilled. We always want people to think that we're experts. I don't think that people who are putting themselves out there as experts are necessarily doing it out of hubris or doing it out of vanity. So I'm going to take a little bit of a detour and talk to you about the Dunning-Kruger effect. Has anybody heard of the Dunning-Kruger effect? Okay. This is my favorite thing that our weird meat brains do. To give you a bit of background, there were 2 Cornell researchers back in the 70s, I believe, Dunning and Kruger. Has anybody used lemon juice to make invisible ink? Cool. A gentleman in the United States decided he was going to rob a bank, and before robbing the bank, coated his face with lemon juice. So the video cameras wouldn't see him. It was surprisingly, this didn't work. And it later appeared in the newspaper. And Dunning and Kruger, I imagine, were eating breakfast together because I like to imagine researchers eating breakfast together. And they got really excited. They're like, look at this. Do you think stupid people know they're stupid? And because they're researchers, they did a massive study. They gave about 2,500 people an aptitude test. So far, so good. But then, before telling them their score, they said, hey, hello, can you show me on this graph how you think you did relative to your peers? And they found that the least skilled quarter rated themselves artificially high. And that you've got sort of an inverse X. Has anybody ever worked with someone, bless their little cotton socks, who really thought they were great and was maybe hanging out down at the lower bit? Has anybody worked with somebody who just genuine? Yeah, in the back there's just a lot of shh, me too, you just keep it quiet. And I love this because this is apparently what research graphs looked like back in the day. And I could just imagine them with a paper and pen chuckling to be like, stupid people, they don't know. I'm going to talk a little bit about how the valuation of expertise matters to different groups and whether or not there are any fixes. If you all think that there's something that I missed or something that's a lot better, do a little sarcastic hand raise and I will totally get you involved. The first thing I'm going to talk about is one of the ones that is the easiest to fix, but doesn't seem to be getting fixed anytime soon. So I'm going to talk a little bit about teams and valuing expertise. What do you really need? Every time I would go into a consultation with someone and they would say, oh, we need .NET, C#, front-end, Azure, and graphic designer, I'd always want to walk them back around to be like, no, seriously, what is this person going to be doing? What do you need this person to be? So the people who are hiring for more than a year, can you yell at me what kind of roles you're looking for?
Scala developers.
Oh, no, fair enough. So, Scala developers, fair enough.
More than 20 developers.
More than 20? Wow. More than 20 Scala developers?
.NET.
.NET? Oh, I can send you one, it'll be fine. I always really like to have a bit of a is that an expression that people know, a sort of come to Jesus talk? It's very Southern as well. It doesn't have anything to do with Jesus generally, but it's when you have to sit somebody down and say, well, this thing you're doing a bad job. You need to stop doing this, or we're going to have you stop doing this. It's sort of a fix it or get out talk. And I find often there's a come to Jesus talk you need to have with people looking to hire. Say, do you know what? We need somebody to do front-end development on our website. I said, that's amazing. Why do they need Haskell? Oh, we're a Haskell shop. I'd be like, that's cool. Why does the person... No. Oh. One of the things that's really interesting, and one of the things that's really frustrating to me, is that when we're looking to hire, I find that we often overlook some of the most important skills that we should be looking for. I'm a little bit biased because I've worked a lot with non-traditional talent. So people who started in industries that weren't technology, people who are self-taught, and people from diverse backgrounds. I found that skilled talent from non-traditional backgrounds often gets to be overlooked. And when people talk about lack of diversity in technology, it's really tempting to sort of make boogeymen, to say, oh, these problems are here because people are jerks. And while a couple people are jerks sometimes, I think a lot of this has to do with the way we form human relationships. It's easy for us to see the value in people who are like us. So when somebody's telling me about their skill set, if I can picture myself in them, I'm going to listen to them. I'm currently working as a mentor with a really incredible woman. She's a computer science graduate, not self-taught, brilliant. She's got an amazing portfolio of work covering really high demand technologies. She's incredibly motivated, and I constantly have to yell at her not to accept free work. And the difficulty is she's looking for work in the United Kingdom, and she's coming from in Birmingham? Yeah, we can sort something. She's coming from a culture where when you present your own work, when you present your own skills, it's impolite to brag about yourselves. So when I talk to my mentees and I talk to them about interviews, I say, well, just be a little bit American. Americans, we're overall amazing at bigging ourselves up. I'm great at this, I'm awesome at that, oh, I did this. But she's very gentle. She says, well, I worked on this project, but I really think most of the credit goes to the rest of the team. They did such a good job. And these are absolutely things I would want to see from a team member. She works well with others. She's incredibly willing to share credit. But because she's communicating in a pattern that's really alien to a lot of the ways that we hire in technology, she's having a really incredibly difficult time of it. And I love showing this side because people are just like, wait, where? I'm just like, I would love for you all to be in town. We need to fix this on teams because unrewarded talent will leave. Who's left a team because you weren't properly rewarded? Yeah, did it suck? If you're not properly valuing your talent, you're costing yourself money. It is incredibly expensive to hire, Scala developers especially. It's so much easier to get in good talent, get in people, and then take the extra time to look at what they're doing well and recognize that. Recognizing traditionally undervalued skills in technology is going to give you an incredible edge. I see people hiring for a specific stack. I see people hiring for a specific university background. I so rarely see employers talking about communication skills. I so rarely see people talking about the ability to mentor. I often hear people talk about the ability to learn and drive. I really rarely see people testing for that. I like to mention this because it's really not that politically correct. I have lots of eyebrows at that. One of the biggest challenges behind hiring and building a team is turnover. Technology is incredibly fast-paced. If you want to keep making more money, people tend to switch jobs every 2 years or so. If you want to find an employee who is not going to leave, if you want to find someone who's statistically going to be in that role 60% longer than most employees, hire single mothers. It's incredibly frustrating for me working with single mothers where I was like, no, you need to change jobs to get paid more. And they're like, no, the stability is really important. Recognizing that there's value in talent that you haven't considered before can save you an incredible amount of money. So how do we fix this? How do we fix misrepresentation of expertise on teams and sort of hiring for the wrong thing? The first thing I'd recommend is if you don't have the time and you have the money, bring in a professional. I don't work for gap jumpers. They don't pay me anything. I just love them. They do blind auditions. So if you want to hire, they'll work with you to create a test. They'll have applicants take the test, and you will never see the applicant's name. You'll never know if they're a man or a woman. You'll never know if they went to university or if they learned in their basement until it comes time to interview them. You'll get a list of test scores, and you're going to pick the best applicants to interview. It's a really incredible way to build your team, or at least preload your interviews based on actual skill. Have people show you what they've built. It's so easy to tell you what I've done, or for employees to tell you what they've done. And it's not always a really good indication. I love public speaking, and I speak at a really wide range of conferences. I've gotten offered some jobs that no one should ever offer me. I've got hey, do you want to be a PHP dev? That's not a PHP dev. I legitimately love them. But don't have me write PHP. It's so easy to stand there while other people are talking and go, oh yeah, that thing. I've heard that thing, yeah. It's so easy to fake competency when people are talking to you. Make people show you what they've done, and then talk through it with them. Test for the skills you actually need. I love tests as a way to determine fitness for a role. But when you're looking at what people are going to be doing day in, day out, when you ask people to test what's going to be happening, ask them to take a test that reflects day-to-day working patterns. Again, if you're hiring a front-end dev, don't test them on Haskell. That's weird. Stop. My favorite thing is asking employers to have people interviewing come in and pair program. It's a really, really good way to see if they're going to freak out. It's a little bit fun, too. How they communicate with other people, and how they do under gentle pressure. So in a perfect world, if you want to have someone pair program, have them pair program on a technology they've never used before. Be nice, don't stress them out. Have them work on a technology they haven't used before, and if it's possible, have them pair program with someone who's junior or even an intern. I really like this because you're testing for their ability to learn, which we all say we're hiring for. It lets you test them for their ability to communicate, which we all should be hiring for. And it tests for whether or not they're going to be a jerk.
How do you determine that?
If you're putting somebody with a junior developer or an intern, you would be shocked at how many times they're going to snap at them or communicate poorly. They know it's an interview. And I can't get the reasoning behind it, but there's a lot of people who are going to be mean during this. I always like to look out for using language like, just blank the blank, or how do you not know how to do that? It's always a really good sign that those folks are not going to be super helpful day to day. I am the biggest community nerd. So earlier, there was a lot of talk about culture being fluffy during the keynote. I love fluff. Communities are one of the most important things that we have in technology. I think that we get so into the cool tech stuff that we forget that we're building things as people for people. And developer communities are a great way to be like, hey, check out all these people. One of the things that's a little bit challenging to communities is that I feel that we really, that was a green one, right? I think that ethically we need to be supporting more diverse talent in our communities for the sake of diverse talent, but we really need to be supporting more diverse talent in our communities for the sake of our communities. I love startups, I love new ideas, but I constantly see ideas coming out of Silicon Valley clearly built for Silicon Valley. Uber for nail polish. So Uber for manicures. It's a thing, they're really nice. They're nice people. They come to your house, you push a button and they come to your house and they do your nails and they go away. It's really useful if you live in San Francisco and make more than $200,000 a year. To keep our ecosystems healthy, we need to have diverse talent, occasionally saying, don't do that, that's weird. Nobody needs that. We deserve better heroes in our communities. So can anybody think, and I'm not going to ask you to say who, can anybody think of sort of developer community heroes or tech heroes that are kind of jerks? Oh. I love how there's like 3 people quietly whispering like, that guy. To keep our communities healthy, we need to be spotlighting people who are awesome, people who are awesome humans as well as awesome technologists. And just like on your teams, unrewarded talent in your communities will leave. So who here does any cool stuff with open source? I love how you were like, well, it's not cool, but sorry. If you are working on an open source project and you're losing valuable talent, that's insane. You want this project to live on past you. You want this to go on forever. You want everyone to care about this. You need to appropriately reward the people who are there. You need to look for actual skill over the bluster and pretended expertise. This gets hard. How do you fix properly valuing expertise, properly valuing skill in communities? Be massively suspicious. If someone's coming and they're telling you that they know what's best, they know what's absolutely supposed to happen. If they're, I don't know, speaking to you at a conference, be a little bit suspicious. Ask yourself whether or not this person has the skills, or whether or not this person has the position within the community to represent the community, especially from a position of expertise. Highlight people who are doing an amazing job. The whole talk, I've just been talking about how if we don't value people properly, they're going to leave our teams, they're going to leave our communities. I think one of the great things about the modern web is we've got the opportunity to just give feedback like that. And a lot of that feedback is, this sucks, I hate this, what are you doing, stop, stop, stop. Which is great. But taking the time and giving warm, positive, constructive feedback is an incredible way to keep actual experts in our communities. Say, hey, I see that you worked on this feature. I really appreciate it. I've used it for these purposes. You're giving functional feedback, you're giving construction information, and some of that awesome fluffiness that keeps people around. Cool. We've talked about what you want to do for your team, what you want to do for communities. Let's take a minute to be me, 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 me. Well, you. And at the base of it, it's really, really basic. Just to say, do you know what? If you're in language learning or in technology or in your job, if you're working on tasks that are too easy, you're not learning. And if you're working on tasks that are too difficult, you're not learning. But going into that a bit deeper, if you're working on tasks that are too difficult for you, it's incredibly demotivating. You don't know what's going on. You don't know how to get a grasp on what's going on. It's so far above you that you're drowning a little bit. And it's incredibly frustrating. You should be doing this. You feel like you should be able to get this done, but you've got little or no production coming out of this. I think it's a step above where you need to be. But very similarly, if you're way down here, working on sort of grunt work, you're in a space where that's incredibly demoralizing. You're working on chump work. You're not working your brain. You're not feeling good about this. You're not being properly valued in the tasks you're getting. And that's intensely frustrating. And you're getting stuff done. You're creating output, but you're not learning anything through that output. And that's really, really difficult if we want to come back to your employers aren't getting an employee who's scaling up. But this is not about your employers. This is about you. You're not learning anything that will make you happier, that will make you more connected to work, and that will make you stay. I don't know, has everybody heard the expression, get what you deserve? Often we say this in a sort of mean way, but like, Jim finally got what he deserved. But I want all of us to get what we deserve in the most positive way. So when I asked if anyone had left a role because you weren't properly being valued, we had about 2/3 of people be like, I did. By recognizing whether or not you're being appropriately valued for your actual expertise, for your actual skill level, you've got the opportunity to look to actually get what you deserve in a really positive way. How do you fix this? So we talked about self-promotion being a skill. You can get better at self-promotion, but it's time-consuming and it's exhausting and it's developing a skill that might not be something you care about. Who cares about getting better at self-promotion? It's not a bad thing, it's cool. Air high five. Getting better at self-promotion is a skill, but not necessarily the skill you want to invest in your time in. You're probably doing really cool stuff with actual technology. Unfortunately, if you don't want to work on self-promotion as a skill, the only thing you can do is leave. If you're not being properly valued, if you can't find a way to find the community you're in or the role you're in to properly value you, it's time to leave. And on that very depressing note, thank you very much. Do we have time for a question or two? Does anybody have any questions?
Yeah, I have a question.
Shoot.
You said that these two difficult tasks for people, they are very demotivating and frustrating for them. And what, in your opinion, is the best way to, when you notice from the top level that someone is not managing the difficult task, what is the best way? Because I think, like, no, I thought you are good, but I think you suck. You can do something simple. It's also not very motivating for the person. So how to fix the mistake of overestimating someone's skills?
Cool. That's an incredibly great question. I'm going to actually come back to teaching for that. So the cool thing about the zone of proximal development, when things are too high level, it's possible to do those tasks for short periods of time with a high level of support and assistance. I don't know why I'm pointing at this dog. So you've got really great opportunities to kindly and gently correct people, to say, do you know what? I see. Are the question and answer sessions going to be part of the videos?
Yeah.
Okay. I'll say something else different. I promise I would not say this on camera again, but a really good feedback process is called sort of a, if you heard the expression shit sandwich? It's where you say something really positive. So say, do you know what? I was really looking forward to you coming on this project. You've done a great job with these aspects of it. I see that you're struggling with these other aspects of it. We love these other things you've done. How can we better support you in the places where you have a challenge? So take the criticism and A, frame it as, we want to be able to support you better, and mean it. But also be careful to sort of package that within really positive feedback. You don't want to say, you're doing a bad job, stop. Say, you know, we brought you in because we thought you could do an amazing job with this. You've done an amazing job with a lot of it. We'd like to better support you through the spaces that you're struggling in. Sorry.
Question is, how do you get yourself defined?
Me personally, I don't think I do. I always look for people who have the skills to get by until they get better. So I think, sorry? I like the technical skills are really important as well. So I look for somebody who's able to do the thing. So look for somebody who's got the basic skill level to fulfill the immediate functions of the first 6 weeks in the job. And then around that, look for someone who's demonstrated an incredible drive. So say, do you know what, this person did these things on their own steam, or this person was involved in this open source project, or this person ran an incredible developer conference. So look for the bare bones skills that leave them able to do it, and then evidence of something amazing in the background. So it's very fluffy, the answer. Oh, please,
Just a quick comment. Self-promotion actually can be divided into two different things. One is about how cool I am because I have got all that wonderful experience and just this wonderful job for me. Another one is just actualizing the problems or solutions you really care about. And there was a quite nice thing on the slides, like taking the problems that might be too easy or too difficult ones. So when you actually promote yourself like you're very cool, you usually get either to one side or the other. And when you actualize in problems and speaking about the real stuff that's important to you, you actually get right to the central point where you are able to learn and able to develop some other skills, and you actually get more useful with the stuff you can do.
Yeah, I'm aware that it might have sounded like I was smack-talking self-promotion. As a tireless self-promoter, it's an awesome skill. I quite recommend it. But thank you very much for pointing out that sort of the bluster and bravado that can be associated with self-promotion and like actually having a considered, measured approach to your own skills are really, really different, but parts of the same thing. Oh, sorry.
I have actually two questions.
Yeah.
One question is, how to define where's the line between self-promotion and boasting?
This might be something to ask me at the after party after a couple drinks, because I think it's often very subtle. Is it often the tone and the sort of smugness? I think often actual skill, I like to think often that actual skill is sort of open-handed, like, hey, I've learned to do these things, but I recognize that other people have skills and I'm eager to learn. Whereas boasting often seems like just broadcasting, like, I'm great, without listening back. I'm not sure that's a great answer.
Okay. Well, it could be that there isn't really a great answer, but the line is very blurry. Okay, the second question is talking about people who are getting what they deserve and wanting everything to be properly valued. So how does this apply to people who are in that lower 10 percentile but think of themselves as up there in the 60s, 70s?
Yeah, they're never going to be happy, and we have all worked with that guy or girl or people. No matter what they get, it's never going to be enough, and I think problems are always going to be other people causing problems for them. I have no idea how you deal with sort of the lowest quartile of the Dunning-Kruger folks. I found that trying to be on different teams is the best I can do.
Just suggest them to leave.
Yeah, oh yeah, you should tell them, be like, oh wow, if you're not being properly valued, you should leave.
If you have time, it's interesting if people jump sometimes from evaluating too high to actually to where they are. So, and what causes these things that they start to value themselves more objectively?
Oh, that's actually really cool. So with Dunning-Kruger, some of the other findings they had were that people who are unskilled don't know they're unskilled, and people who are unskilled aren't able to see real skill in others. So not only do they think they're great, they think you are dumb. And that it is possible to move past this level of unskilledness. But to do so, you need to first recognize that you're not skilled. So it's possible through self-reflection, but maybe rare.
It's a fluffy thing. So.
Yeah, I think that if you're not willing to recognize the possibility that you're not amazing, you're never going to get better. So I think you need a little bit of self-doubt to start to improve. Maybe good feedback from outside. Oh,
To add to this, I recently saw a very good representation of the ladder of skill. First there's novice, then there's expert, then there's apprentice, master, guru.
oh, cool. Is everybody all right? Oh, please.
Yeah, I actually couldn't
Yeah.
concentrate for the last part of
Oh,
the
sorry.
presentation because this question was bothering me.
Oh, I'm so
So
sorry.
you told that you pair up the potential hirees with the kind of novices and interns. And,
Where possible, yeah.
yeah. Do they have support groups for those 4 people that potential hirees are jerks to? Or are they expendable interns?
No, you need a fairly sturdy intern, and you want to have a chat with your intern first to be like, hey, this is going to seem weird, we're here for you, and let the intern know that they're actually in the position of power there. For an intern, it can be an awesome power trip to be like, okay, you're going to be pair programming with 2 or 3 people today, some of them will be jerks, but if they're mean to you, you get to write their email to say they're not getting the job. Sorry, I can...
How do you fire the interns?
Oh, well, hopefully you keep them.
One last comment from my side. Well, you guys probably know that today is like the first year of reservists who have a birthday, but also there's another Heidi who has a birthday.
Oh my god!